Multiple, right? So we are done with the basics of data structures, right? Third, we know how to calculate time complexity. And we also know this thing that why time is this much of important. Now, we have two things, right? The first thing is brute force approach, and the second thing is optimal approach. So, what these two means? Fine. So, basically, at some of the places, you will be seeing brute force as a naive approach also. Fine. So, what is a brute force approach? And in terms of that, what is an optimal approach? Fine. So, brute force approach is called as naive approach. Fine. That simply means, let's say, I have given you a problem, and to solve that problem, you are using that approach, which is solving that problem. You will be getting the solution, but you are end up taking more time. Fine. So basically, it's more over like I have solved the problem, but I have taken more time to solve that problem. If getting a solution is my motto, I'm not being worried about the time. बस solution मिलना चाहिए मुझे. If I'm being into this situation, that approach will be called as brute force approach. Fine. But this is not something which is the only definition of brute force approach. Fine. Brute force approach is something different. And what's that? Let's say I have a box, and in that box I have 20 balls. Fine. And again, the balls can be red in color, can be black in color, can be green in color, and they can be white in color. Fine. And I don't know the exact number of balls which are red, blue, green, or white in colors. Fine. So what I'll be doing, I'll be reaching out to every single ball. I'll pick every ball and we'll check the color of that ball. And we'll keep it inside the bag once again. Then I'll pick another ball. We'll see the color of that ball and we'll put the ball into the bag. So what I'm doing here, what's the intuition? The intuition is I'm just going towards at every pass of my solution. Fine. I have 20 balls. So what I'm doing, I'm just going towards every single ball. Are you getting my point? So iterating towards every single part of your answer by believing this thing that this can be my answer, that approach is called as brute force approach. An approach which will help you to solve your problem, but you don't have to be worried with time. You will end up solving your problem, but टाइम कितना लगेगा इसकी कोई जिम्मेदारी नहीं है. Second, a brute force approach is an is that approach in which you will be going towards every pass of your solution. If you have 20 parts, if you have 40 parts, if you have 50 parts, so you will be going towards at every part of your solution once, right? Guys, give me a thumbs up if I'm being clear on this. What is a naive approach and what's brute force approach? Then we have optimal approach. Fine. So I think we have discussed this thing when we have started the things. Fine. When we were into like, sir, algorithm kya hota hai? Sir, what's the definition of data structures and algorithm? So in that moment, we have discussed something called as optimal solution. We just heard a word that is optimal, right? So मतलब क्या है इसका? The meaning is, let's say I have two users, user number one and user number two. So what I did, I just asked this guy, hey man, can you please complete your homework in 10 minutes? Fine. And I just have given instruction to both of the guys that, hey buddy, you have to solve or you have to complete your assignment in 10 minutes. The deadline is 10 minutes. But user number one has done this thing in 10 minutes and user number two did the same thing in 2 minutes. So in terms of real life, this can be something which completing your task before the time, completing your task before the deadline. But in terms of programming, it's something not कि भाई काम जल्दी हो गया, काम जल्दी करके बैठ गया. It's not like that. User number two has written or has solved that assignment with an approach, and that approach leads to him to take less time. So basically, it's not about solving problem in less time. It's not all about solving problem in more time. It's about that approach which will help you to solve your problem in the minimum time. I'm repeating once again that the difference between brute force approach and optimal approach is not all about completing your task in less time or completing your task in more time. The difference is finding that approach which will help me to reduce my work and to minimize the amount of time is being taken. So optimal approach is that approach which will help me to minimize the amount of time would be taken. That's it. So in exceptional cases, in some of the cases, brute force approach can also be your optimal approach. It can be. Maybe the approach you are thinking about, maybe the approach which you are coming with is also traversing, it's also going to every single pass. And maybe that optimal approach is also going to every single pass, right? So sometimes there can be a scenario, and that scenario can be your optimal approach and your brute force approach, they both are having same time complexity. In that case, you will always be choosing the optimal approach because if so, we will be discussing on this. If both algorithms or if two algorithms are having same time complexity, then how we can clarify this thing that which algorithm will be chosen and why, right? But for now, the algorithm, the approach will help you, that will help you to reduce the amount of taken. That is my optimal approach. That's it. सो बेसिकली सर बेसिकली एक बहुत ही छोटा सा क्वेश्चन सर हम जब प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व कर ले रहे हैं एक एक फिक्स ड्यूरेशन में हम सॉल्व कर ले रहे हैं और टाइम ऐसा नहीं है कि बहुत ज्यादा टाइम हम लगा रहे हैं तो सर व्हाई वी आर बीइंग वरीड अबाउट कि हम इसको इतने टाइम में करें उसको उतने टाइम में करें सो उसका रीजन ये है सो व्हेन you'll डू वन ऑपरेशन the operation can be insertion deletion searching traversing. So when you're doing it for the first time or for only single element, so it won't hamper your time complexity, it won't hamper your situation. But sir, उसी जगह पे अगर आप हजार चीजें एक बार में कर रहे हैं तो आप वहां पे फंस जाएंगे. You will end up losing your deadline. So for this reason, time complexity plays a very major role. If I'll be able to save at least zero point 0.5 milliseconds for one task, so just imagine for 1,000 tasks, you will be saving your zero point 0.5 into 1,000, that becomes 500 milliseconds. And if you wouldn't be saving, so you would end up taking 1,000 milliseconds. See the difference. The difference is exactly half. So what I'm trying to say, the time complexity is something which describes the amount of operations which you're making. And that's why we are always been revolving around this thing that my time complexity should be less. It doesn't matter how much of iterations I'm making, how much of operations I'm making, man. I would end up taking less time complexity. That's it. Let's give me a thumbs up if I'm being clear on this. What's the difference between brute force approach and optimal approach? Everyone, is everyone okay with the explanation? Are we on the same page? Priyanshu, Zilan, guys, are we on the same page? Okay, fine. The next thing is, sir, agar if my interviewer will gonna ask me the question, so should I explain him with brute force or should I explain him with optimal? So when will I get to know this thing, sir, that I have to go with brute force approach and when should I go with optimal approach? Fine. So it depends on the constraint. Fine. And constraint simply means the limitation. So if we solve any problem on lead code, so in the bottom of the description, you will be seeing the range of array is in between 1 to 10 to the power 4. The range of elements is in between 1 to 10 to the power 5. So these are the constants which we have to be taking care of. We will be discussing this thing. But for now, if your interviewer will ask a question, so you will always be starting that question with naive approach. You will never tell the optimal approach to your interviewer in the first run. उसका रीजन क्या है? सर अगर क्वेश्चन आता है तो बताऊं क्यों नहीं पहले? उसका रीजन ये है, द मोमेंट व्हेन यू विल आंसर इट विद द ऑप्टिमल अप्रोच ना, वो मूव और साउंड करने लगता है कि दैट आप रट के आए हो। फाइन। सो जानबूझ के कभी कभी ये दिखाना पड़ता है कि नहीं, I'll be going with the naive approach. Sir, I just know one of the approach, and while writing that approach, you should be telling that guy, "Hey, sir, right now I got one more approach for this. Can I just go with that?" So basically, सुनने में लग रहा होगा कि सर ये तो एक्टिंग है, ये क्यों करना है, वो क्यों करना है. But the thing is, कि the moment when you will start with a naive approach and while writing that, you will end up getting optimal approach. उसके बाद में ये चीज फिक्स हो जाएगी that this guy knows how to start and this guy knows how to end the question, right? And this guy knows the difference between optimal and naive approach. Fine. So what will be the precedence? So, sir, you are just saying this thing. This would be having less time complexity. That would be having more time complexity. Sir, how would I get to know this thing that which one is less and which one is more? Fine. Anyone who can help me in this? How will I get to know this thing that which one is more time complexity and which one is less time complexity? Anyone who can help me
सर
in this? हाँ बताओ.
सर आइट्रेशन ज्यादा परफॉर्म होंगे तो टाइम कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी ज्यादा होगी वैसे।
आइट्रेशन ज्यादा परफॉर्म होंगे तो टाइम कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी ज्यादा होगी. ओके फाइन. Anyone else? Thank you, Priyanshu. Anyone else who can help me with this? Anyone? Jilan, Yash, anyone?
Yeah, more for loops, inner for loops going right. Outer for loop and okay. In inner for loop is more iteration it happens. So at the
Mhm.
time, time complexity it will increase the code.
So basically, I'm not talking about the inner and outer one, Zilan. Just one thing that will I get to know this thing that which one is greater and which one is lesser time complexity? Jilan, can I know this thing?
Okay.
Okay, fine.
It's code run करने पे we understood.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. Yeah, thanks. So let's start with some basics, right? So I just told you yesterday that the time complexity, if it is in terms of big, so the time complexity is in terms of n, and that n represents my input size, right? So if it is big O of n simply means linear time complexity. Fine. I think we have discussed this thing, right? Linear time complexity. Fine. And then if we have written big O of n square, so n square is my exponential time complexity. Then we have big O of root n, that is square root time complexity. And then we have big O of log n, that was called as logarithmic time complexity. And then we have big O of 1, that is being called as constant time complexity. अब सर ये क्या है? What is this? Who's this new guy in the story? What is big O of 1? So, sir, in which case I'll be having my time complexity as big O of 1? How? And when I'll get to know this thing that the time complexity of this approach is big O of 1. Anyone who have heard about constant case time complexity can help me with this. Anyone who knows anything about that, whether it's Jillian, Priyanshu, Yash, anyone. Can anyone help me with what is constant time complexity? What is constant case in time complexity?
So same time it's maintained constantly. So when you run something,
Uh,
सर अगर नंबर ऑफ एन का नंबर है अगर वो इंक्रीज भी होता है लेकिन फिर भी हमारा जो प्रोग्राम है वो कांस्टेंट टाइम में रन होगा.
mhm. Okay, fine. So, you guys must have heard about if else condition, switch condition. Is it? Switch condition, if else
yep.
condition, ternary operators. सो सर
Yes,
आपने,
yes.
हाँ सर आपने एक डेफिनेशन बोला था, कल आपने एक डेफिनेशन बोला था, एंड दैट डेफिनेशन वाज, सर टाइम कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी इज द अमाउंट ऑफ टाइम टेकन बाय योर लूपिंग स्टेटमेंट टू आइटरेट, टू कंप्लीट द आइटरेशन, राइट? सर आपने लूपिंग स्टेटमेंट में तो बता दिया टाइम कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी. सर व्हाट डज इट मीन? अगर मेरे कोड में लूप यूज नहीं हुआ है तो सर मेरे कोड की तो टाइम कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी ही नहीं होगी. समझो ध्यान से. If I haven't used looping statement in my logic, that simply means, sir, I won't be having any time complexity. Because आपने ही तो पहले दिन ये बोला था कि time complexity is the number of time taken by your looping statement to perform the iteration. सर लूप के अलावा तो कुछ चलेगा ही नहीं. अब ध्यान से देखो ये बात. So अगर अगर याद करो, so what was your time complexity? It is the relation between n and number of iterations which you are making. N is the given input, iterations is the number of times your loop will execute. And according to the relation, the amount of, so if it is approximately equal, we were saying big O of n. If it is increasing square, so that is big O of n square. If it is decreasing logarithmic, it was big O of log n. So that means every time I'm just finding the relationship between my given input and the number of iterations I'm making. So it simply means it simply means time complexity will always be in terms of number of iterations. So if I haven't used loops in my code, and uh, apart from that loop, let's say I have declared two variables in my logic. A is equals to 5 and B is equals to 7. What does it mean? Sir, ये कोई टाइम नहीं लेगा. Declaration of a variable won't be taking time. It won't be needing time. It will be. But the thing is, if this guy is taking 1 second, then it will be taking 1 second throughout the life. Simple सा एक बात समझो. Let's say I just want to go at a particular place, right? And that place is 10 minutes away from my place, from my home. Fine. So if I'm taking 10 minutes to reach that place, I will end up taking 10 minutes for the whole life. वो 10 मिनट हमेशा 10 मिनट ही रहने वाले हैं. मेरे और तुम्हारे घर के बीच के जो डिस्टेंस है वो 10 मिनट की ही रहने वाली है. वो थ्रू आउट द प्रोसेस 10 सेकेंड्स ही होने वाली है. सो सर The good answer would be these processes would be taking time, बट ये हमेशा एक ही टाइम लेने वाले हैं. आज अगर ये 1 सेकंड ले रहे हैं एग्जीक्यूट होने में, तो ये 1 सेकंड ही लेंगे थ्रू आउट द प्रोसेस. बट लूप के साथ ऐसा नहीं है. My loop is not a constant thing. My loop will never take same amount of time. It depends on the input size. So if we haven't used any looping statement in our logic, the time complexity of that logic is big O of 1. Guys, please give me a thumbs up if I'm being clear on this. What is constant case time complexity? Fine. The second question. The second question is, we got constant case time complexity, and it simply means a case in which we haven't used any looping statement. Fine, right? Sir, what about the comparison? How I'm comparing and how I'm saying this thing, that this approach is taking less time complexity and that approach is taking more time complexity. Now see here, let me write the precedence table so that you will get a clear picture in terms of comparison, right? So the most optimal time complexity is a code in which I haven't used any loop, that is constant. सबसे कम big O of 1 लेगा time. Then I have big O of login. Then I have big O of root 10. Then I have big O of n. Then I have big O of n square. Give me a moment. I have some more things here. Then I have big O of n log n. Then I have big O of n square. And then big O of n cube and so on. So this is my precedence table. Fine. So I've arranged them on the basis of ascending order. What does it mean? It is being represented in terms of lower to higher time complexities. So big O of 1 will be taking less time. Big O of log n will be taking more time than big O of 1. Then big O of root n, big O of n, big O of n log n, big O of n square, and big O of n cube. So if you guys can take a moment and note it down, the precedence of time complexity. Fine. The next thing which we so let me just write the precedence of this. Precedence table of time complexity. Fine. Right. The next thing which we have, let's start with some basic questions, and now we will see how we can optimize our code, how we can solve it with with a brute force as well as with an optimal approach. Fine. So I'll be giving you a question. You guys will be having 5 minutes to solve that problem, and then I'll solve that problem with the naive approach as well as I'll tell you how I'm thinking about the optimal solution. Right. So the question is, now what we have to do, we know about natural numbers, the numbers which starts from 1. We know about whole numbers, the numbers which starts from 0. We know about integers which starts from minus infinity and go till positive infinity. We know what are composite numbers, and we know what are prime numbers. So a number which is which is being only divisible by itself, that is n. If I've given you n, so it should be divisible by n as well as it should be divisible by 1. But sir, दुनिया का हर नंबर खुद से और 1 से डिवाइड होता है. If I have 5, तो 5 is getting divided by 5 and 1. If I have 10, तो 10 is being divided by 10 and 1. तो सर इसमें नया क्या है? Fine. So what's the new thing? The thing is, if a number gets divided by n and 1, and it's also getting divided by excluding these two. So if I have 10, 10 is divided by 10 and 1, but it's also getting divided by 2 and 5. Now the question is, you just have to tell me that the n is a prime number or not. If it is a prime number, I want you guys to return true. And if it's not a prime number, I want you guys to return me false. So guys, it's 7:42. Let's meet at 7:48 and come up with a solution. It doesn't matter you have written it in optimal approach or in naive approach, that's fine. But I want you guys to try that how you will find that the given number is a prime number or not. If it is prime, return true, and if it's not, return false. Now start. Yash, Priyanshu, Jilan, anyone who's done with it? Simi, yes or no? Fat se. Anyone who's done with this, at least say yes or no. No, sir, doing it. Okay, take more 2 minutes. वो बेसिकली हमें हमें पता ये करना है कि द नंबर विच हैज बीन गिवन टू अस दैट नंबर इज अ प्राइम नंबर और नॉट, दैट्स इट. वो नंबर अगर प्राइम नंबर है, रिटर्न ट्रू. अगर नहीं है तो रिटर्न फॉल्स. वैभव, वी गॉट दैट? वी हैव टू अंडर रूट. अंडर रूट, या द अप्रोच विल बी गोइंग टिल अंडर रूट. या दैट्स राइट. Guys, are you done with it? Because we are running over time, right? Say me yes or no if you're done with that. Okay, fine. I'm starting with the solution, right? So I have, let's say, there's a number which has been given to me, and that number is n, right? And n can be any number, right? It can be 20, it can be 10, it can be 1000, it can be 17, it can be 11, 3, 5, 7, up to us. Fine. So let's say what I have to do, I have to write a program so that when n will be given at any number, so I just have to return true or false. Fine. Now see here. The lowest prime number which I have is 2, which is also an even number. Fine. So 2 is a prime number. So basically, what can I do? Let's say if I have n is equals to 24. So a prime number is a prime number is a prime number. That simply means the number should only be divisible by itself and 1. So basically, I just know one thing. In this whole world, every number will be divided by itself and 1. Every single number will be divided by itself and 1. So the condition is, if the number which has been given to me is only getting divided by 1 and n, and not with any other number, that is a prime number. So if 24 is getting divided by 24 and 1, only 24 and 1, that simply means it's a prime number. And but 24 is getting divided by 2, 3, 4, 6, 12 also. So it's not a prime number. So the condition is, I can exclude 1 and 24. I can exclude 1 and n. That simply means I just have to check that is there any number which divides my n from 2 to n minus 1. Guys, give me a thumbs up if I'm clear with this, why I'm going with 2 to n minus 1. Just give me a thumbs up. If, if I'm clear with this, why I'm going from 2 to n minus 1, why I'm not considering 1 and number itself. Give me a thumbs up on this if I'm clear.
सर एक बार रिपीट कर दो ना.
Yeah, sure, man. Why not? So let's say I have a number and that number is 21, right? So what I have to do, I know this thing that in this whole world, every single number will be divided by 1 and 21. Every single number. So what's new in the case of prime number? So a prime number is that number which is only be divisible by itself and 1. So there should not be any number between 2 to 20 which divides my n. And if it divides, that means this number is not a prime number. And if it doesn't, this number is a prime number. So that means every number will be divided by itself and 1. So why should I be checking this condition? This is not valid condition. I just have to check from 2 to n minus 1. That is, if I have to check for 24, so I won't be wasting my time to check for 1 and 24. I'll check from 2 to 23, that is there any number which divides my 24. If yes, return if yes, return false, and if not, return true. Give me a moment. Give me a moment. Okay, sorry, it was my mother's call, right? So I can just do one thing, sir. We will start with a loop from 2 to n minus 1, and if any number divides my 24, that means I'll return false because that is not a prime number. And if I don't have any number from 2 to n minus 1 which divides my 24, that means 24 is a prime number and I'll return true. Guys, say me yes or no if I'm being clear on this. Why I'm going from 2 to n minus 1 and why I'm returning false and true. वैभव जिलन यश सबको क्लियर है? एक बार सब एक्नॉलेज कर दो बिकॉज आई डोंट वांट टू प्रोसीड फर्दर अगर किसी एक को भी डाउट है तो.
Yes, sir. Yes.
ओके ओके फाइन. So, so what will be the naive approach?
Yep, yep.
Yeah. So what will be the naive approach? I will be going towards every single number. If I have 2, if I have 23, so from 2 to 23, I'll check is my 24 is getting divisible by this. Let's start. I'll be using a for loop, and that for loop will start from I is equals to 2, and it should run till I is less than 24. I is less than 24 means it will stop at 23. I plus plus. If I have written I is less than equals to 24, that means 24 will also be included, but the number itself and 1 should not be included, right? So I'll remove this. It should be less than 24, right? L- So now tell me one thing. Do you guys know anything about modulus operator? Is there anyone who knows about modulus operator? What's modulo? Anyone who can help me with this? What is a modulus operator?
It's not Modulo not taking remainder values. It's taking what we call
Okay, fine. देखो यहाँ पे.
forget actually,
Yeah,
not taken remainder values. I know.
yeah, fine. So let's say I'm dividing 5 with 7. So in programming, if I'll divide my 7 with 5, I would end up getting 2 because 2 is an integer value. Sorry, I'll be getting 1 because 5 ones are 5 and I'll be having remainder 2. So that won't be counted. So this divide symbol will be always giving me the quotient value. If I divide 7 with 5, so I would be having 5 ones are 5, remainder 2. So 1 is my quotient. I'll be getting quotient, right? So 7 by 5 will be 1 because 1 is the quotient value. What happened, Vaibhav? Vaibhav, mute yourself. Fine. Yeah. But if I'll be taking modulo of 7 with 5, I would be getting 2. So modulus operator returns me the remainder. It returns me the remainder. But sir, why you are talking about this operator in a way of a sudden? The reason is if I'll divide any number with any other number and if I'll get remainder 0, that means if I'll divide my 5 with 5 and I get remainder 0, if I'll divide my 10 with 5, I'll get remainder 0. If I'll divide my 15 with 5, I'll get remainder 0. That simply means if any number divides the given number completely, I would end up getting remainder 0. If after division I'm getting remainder 0, that simply means the number is dividing that number. So that means if any number will divide my 24, so 24% that value of I should give me 0. If any value between 2 to 23 divides my 24, that means 24 is not a prime number. And if it divides, then my 24 is not a prime number. And if it doesn't divides, 24 is a prime number. That's it. So guys, we got the intuition. We got how to find that 24 is a prime number or not. Say me yes or no. Say me yes or no. Am I clear? So simply, I will just write a code. So a for loop which will start from I is equals to 2 less less than 24 I plus plus. If at any particular instance my 24 get divides, what happened? Why this code is not working? If my 24 gets divided with any value of I and my I is starting from 2 and it's going till 23. If 24% I becomes 0, that means this I divides my 24. And at that moment, I'll specify this thing कि sir आप जो number ढूंढ रहे हो ना prime number वो ये नहीं है. 24 is not a prime number because 24 1 और 24 के अलावा एक और number से divide हो गया है. And if at the end of whole iteration you reached at 23 and you don't get any number which divides your 24, so you will return true. That's it. If any number from 2 to 23 divides your 24, that means it's not a prime number. And if it doesn't divides, and if there is not any number which divides my 24, till 23, that means 24 is a prime number and I'll return true. Guys, say me yes or no if I'm being clear on this. Everyone, just give me a thumbs up if I'm being clear on this. But sir, if you'll notice one thing, we have written an approach which is a naive approach for me, which means it is a brute force approach. अब याद करो मैंने क्या बताया था नाइव अप्रोच के बारे में. What I told you in terms of naive approach. Naive approach was an approach in which I was getting a solution, but I would end up taking more time. मैं मेरी जो रियल टेंशन है वो सोल्यूशन को फाइंड करने की ज्यादा थी. टाइम कितना लग रहा है कितना नहीं लग रहा है इसके बारे में मैं सोच नहीं रहा था. बट इस केस में ऐसा क्या है, इस केस में क्या है ऐसा. नाइव अप्रोच का मतलब, if you notice one thing, I have excluded 1 and 24. That means because 1 and 24 number and 1 will always divide my number. So why would I be including that thing? So I'm making whole n iterations. If you'll notice one thing, after excluding 1 and number itself, I'm still making n minus 2 iterations. ये लूप अभी भी 22 बार चलेगा. सिर्फ 1 and 24 ही तो गायब हुआ है. I have 22 number of iterations. That means I'm still making n minus 2 number of iterations. And if I'll find the time complexity, it will be big O of n minus 2. And 2 is a constant value that will be ignored. That is big O of n. Sir, big O of n में तो नहीं करना था ये question. Fine. I just have written an approach. I just have written an approach which have solved my problem. Fine. But I have ended up taking more time. तो सर ये ऑप्टिमल अप्रोच तो नहीं हुआ. मैंने इस अप्रोच से क्वेश्चन तो सॉल्व कर दिया बट ये अप्रोच ऑप्टिमल तो नहीं हुआ. सो a knife programmer will always be thinking about the solution. He will always be thinking about writing a solution which writing an approach which will help him to solve the problem. That's it. But fine. But in the next moment, I'll be thinking about the optimal approach in this process, right? So what would be the optimal approach? सर आपने प्रेसिडेंस टेबल लिखवाया था. आपने यहाँ पे लिखवाया था कि बिगो ऑफ एन से छोटी टाइम कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी है बिगो ऑफ रूट एन की. सो दैट मीन्स अगर एनी हाउ मैं इस कोड को बिगो ऑफ रूट एन में लेके आऊं तो माई कोड विल बिकम ऑप्टिमल. बिगो ऑफ रूट एन में लाने का मतलब क्या है. दैट मीन्स इफ माई एन इज 100, लेट्स से आई टोल्ड यू दैट यू हैव टू चेक दैट योर number is a prime number or not. So let's say I told you that check for 100. So for n is equals to 100, you are only making 10 iterations. Only 10 iterations. That means the number of iteration is the square root value of n. That is 10. So can I just do this thing? Can I just solve this problem in big of root n so that I would end up making less iterations and my approach will become more optimal? Yes, we can. Now see here. We don't have to check every other number to calculate that the number is a prime number or not. Fine. Now see here. I won't be going till 100. I will be going till 10. The reason is, now see here. Let's say if I got 2, if I got 4, if I got 6, if I got, so let's start with 24, right? So 24 is a prime number or not. How will I get to know this thing? Let's find out the factors of 24. I have 1 which divides my 24. I have 2. I have 3. I have 4. I have 6. I have 8, 12, 24. 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, 24. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, 24. Let's write it down. If I've written 1, the converse of 1 is 24. If I have written 2, the converse of 2 is 12. 1, 24 ones are 24, 12 twos are 24, 3 eights are 24, 4 6 are 24, and then I have 6. So if you notice one thing, sir, after 4, I have 6 as a factor. So that the converse of 6 is 4. Then I have 8. The converse of 8 is 3. Then I have 12. The converse of 12 is 2. अब एक बात बताओ, क्या कुछ नोटिस कर रहे हो? Are you guys able to notice something? वैभव, जिलन, यश, कुछ नोटिस किया यहाँ पे? फैज, एनीवन एल्स, किसी ने कुछ नोटिस किया यहाँ पे? एनीवन? अब ध्यान से देखो. If I got, let's say my n is equals to 24 और मुझे ये बात पता लग गई that there is a number 2 which divides my 24. So 2 is the factor of 24. Say me yes or no. If 2 is the factor of 24, so 2 will divide my 24. अब एक बात बताओ, अगर 2 24 का एक फैक्टर है, तो 24 by 2 जो कि आएगा 12, this is also the factor of 24 ना? Say me yes or no. If 2 is the factor of 24, so 24 by 2 भी तो मेरा फैक्टर होगा. 24 by 2 जो आएगा, that will also be my factor. Say me yes or no. So that means one factor. So that means one factor will be giving me the other factor. Say me yes or no if I'm being clear on this. Because ये बहुत crucial step है.
Yes, sir.
इसका मतलब ये है, अगर 2 24 को डिवाइड नहीं कर रहा है, तो 12 के लिए भी नहीं चेक करेंगे. I'm repeating once again. If my 2 doesn't divides 24, then 12 will also not divide my 24. कितने लोग अग्री करते हैं मेरे इस बात पे? अगर 2 डिवाइड नहीं कर रहा है 24 को, तो 12 भी नहीं करेगा. अब समझो बात को. कितने लोग अग्री करते हैं मेरे इस बात पे? इसका मतलब कि जब if I have checked that 2 doesn't divides my 24, that simply means अब मुझे अगर 2 24 पे डिवाइड नहीं कर रहा है, तो आई डोंट हैव टू चेक फर्दर फॉर 12. यही बंदा मुझे बता दिया कि 12 भी डिवाइड नहीं होगा 24 से. दैट मीन्स every iteration is getting repeated for one time. Everything is being done for two times. So if I have n is equals to 100, so I don't have to go till 100. I will only be going till 10, and I'll check that is there any number which divides my n. Now let's start. So what's the square root of 24? It's around 4 point something, which is 4 as an integer value. So मैं सिर्फ 1 से लेके 4 तक चेक करूंगा. Is if there will be any number which will divide my n, that means it is not a prime number. And if there is any number which doesn't divides my n, so it is a prime number. 1 से लेके 4 तक अगर कोई भी नंबर डिवाइड कर दिया 24 को, so it is not a prime number. And if it doesn't divide, 24 is a prime number. That's it. So the square root of 24 is 4. So I won't be going till 24. I won't be performing, I won't be doing iterations till 2 to 24. I'll just start from 1 and I'll go till 4. That's it. And with these 4 iterations, I will get to know this thing that the given number is not a prime number or a prime number. Guys, give me a thumbs up if I'm being clear on this. Why I'm going till square root of n instead of 2 to n minus. एक बार सब अग्री कर दो बिकॉज शायद कंफ्यूजन होगी थोड़ी बहुत अभी भी. Say me yes or no or give me a thumbs up if I'm being clear on this. सब अग्री करते हो इस बात पे? सो लेट्स हैव सम एज केसेस। एज केसेस का मतलब, अगर मुझे पहले ही पता लग गया ये नंबर प्राइम नंबर है, तो मैं अपने फॉर लूप को नहीं चलाऊंगा। और अगर मुझे पहले ही पता लग गया दैट द गिवन नंबर इज नॉट अ प्राइम नंबर, सो मैं नहीं नहीं चलाऊंगा आगे के लूप्स को। आई विल सेव माई मेमोरी, आई विल सेव माई रिसोर्सेस। If in the beginning of iterations I got to know this thing that the given number is a prime number, I've stopped. If in the beginning of my iterations, if I got to know this thing that the given number is not a prime number, I'll stop. I won't waste my resources. Let's start. We all know this thing that one is not a prime number. And the numbers which are less than 1, that is 0, -1, -2, -3, they all are not a prime number. And I just told you n can be any value. The number which has been given to you can contain any value. So if the number which has been given to you is either less than or equals to 1, that simply means bhai check mat karo aage. Because if a number is less than 1 or equals to 1, that number can never be a prime number. So return false. And if it's greater than 1, then I'll start my iteration. So for I'll start my iteration from 2, because 2 is the least value of my prime number. 2 is the smallest prime. I is equals to 2, and I just have to go till square root of n. If I have n is equals to 100, I just want to make only 10 iterations. So I is less than equals to square root of n and I plus plus. Same, the condition will be same. If any number from 2 to square root of n divides my n, that means my n is not a prime number, I'll return false. And if at the end of whole iteration, I won't get a number which divides my n, that means this number is a prime number. So I'll return true. That's it. Guys, give me a thumbs up if I'm being clear on this. How and when you have to use a square root, and in which situation you will be writing without square. Fine. Give me a thumbs up, everyone, if I'm being clear with this. Like how I have optimized my approach from big O of n to big O of root n. So this is how you have to think about the optimal approach and the naive approach. This is how you will be thinking about this thing. So big O of root n is lesser time complexity than big O of n. That's it. That's it. So guys, can I expect a total yes from everyone, because uh, got it, sir. Okay, fine. So is it fine? Are we on the same page? Are we able to configure this thing that that when we have to think about the optimal case, when we have to think about the knife case? Fine. Oh, that's it. So let me open my online GDB, and let me write the code for you. Let me just make a function, and a function static void. So this function will be returning me true and false. Fine. So true and false are the Boolean values. So we have multiple data types. To store character, we have char. To store integer, we have int. To store floating values, we have float. And to store Boolean values that are true and false, we use Boolean data type. So the return type of this function is Boolean, and let me name it as prime. and this function will be taking a parameter from me, and the parameter is the given number n. So n will be decided by the user. I cannot decide my n. So this n will be passed as a parameter. Now let's write the edge case condition. So what my edge case was, if the given number is already 1 or less than 1, that means I won't waste my time to calculate the prime number. I'll simply write, hey man, you are less than or equals to 1. So you can never be a prime number. So let's return false from here on. So if n is less than or equals to 1, that means return false. And if it's not, if my n is not less than or equals to 1, I'll start a for loop. And I is equals to 2. I is less than or equals to math dot square root of n, that is I plus plus. Now, if any number from 2 to square root of n divides my n, that means it is not a prime number. And if it doesn't till the end, it is a prime number. So if n% I is equals to 0, return false. And if at the end I'm not able to find any single number which divides my n, so I'll return true. I just made a function. Let's call this function in my main function. So I just want to print the output of this function. Really. And let me call s prime. And in that I'll be passing the number which I have to check that it is a prime number or not. Let's pass 5. Let's see it is a prime or not. Yes, 5 is a prime number. I'm getting true. Let's pass 7. Yes, 7 is a prime number. Let's pass 12. 12 is not a prime number, so I'm getting false. Let's pass 1. 1 is not a prime number. Let's pass 0. That's it. That's it. Fine. And if I'll be passing negative numbers, let's say I'll just pass minus 90. False. That's it. So that's how we will be able to solve. I'm just sharing the code. Don't be worried about the code. At the end of the session, I will be sharing the code in all the languages, Python, Java, C and C++. Fine. But don't be worried on that. So guys, give me a thumbs up if I'm being clear with the code, if I'm being clear with the naive approach to find prime number and the optimal approach to find the prime number. That's it. Are you guys feeling confident? Like now we are able to recognize that which one is the optimal approach and which one is the naive approach. Are we everyone like Vabo, Jilan, everyone, Priyanshu, are you guys feeling comfortable? Like in terms of this thing, like which one is the optimal one and which one is the naive one? Yeah, sir. Okay, fine. Last question of number theory, then we'll start with basics of searching, right? So I will be giving you 5 minutes and you just have to come up with an approach. You have a number that is 24, and what you have to do, you have to print all the factors of this number. And if I have passed 36, so you have to print all the factors of 36. That's it. So it's 8:22. Let's meet at 8:30 and come up with a solution. You just have to print all the factors of 24, all the factors of n. N can be any number. It can be 24, it can be 36, n can be any number. So you just have to print all the factors of n. That's it. Give me a thumbs up if I'm being clear with the question. Like if you guys are clear with the question, like what we have to do exactly. Fine. Let's start. You have 7 minutes. Come up with a solution, or and if you will be having any issue with the solution, just wait till 8:20, 8:30 and give a try. Fine. Just think about how can we find the optimal one and how can we find the naive approach. Fine. Just think about that. Fine. Anyone who's done with it? Yash, can you start? Yash, you there?
अ, हाँ सर,
Can you help me?
बस फॉर लूप लगाया मैंने और
ओके।
कुछ नहीं।
हुआ कि नहीं हुआ?
हाँ, हो गया सर।
हो गया। टाइम कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी क्या है उसकी?
बिग ऑफ एन सर।
बिग O ऑफ,
एन।
अच्छा बिग O ऑफ n है।
हाँ, वन नहीं है, वन का सोच रहा हूँ अभी।
O ऑफ n, of n. Okay, fine. Anyone else who's done with the code? Thanks, Yash. Anyone else who's done with the code? कोई और जिसका हो गया है, जिसको समझ में आ गया है कैसे होगा ये? ओके फाइन, देखो यहाँ पे I just told you that every time the factors will be repeating. Every time the number of iterations, the logic will be repeating. Now tell me one thing. To find the number of factors, let's say I have n is equals to 24. And I have to find the number of factors of 24. So I'll start my iteration from 1 and I'll go till 24. And I'll divide every single number with from 1 to 24. And if any number divides my 24, that means this I is my factor. So I'll print that I. That's it. So we just have to do this thing only, right? If I have to find all the factors of 24, so what I'll do, I'll start from 1 and I'll go till 24 and I'll divide my 24 with every single number from 1 to 24. And if any number divides my 24, that means that is my factor. So I'll print that number. Guys, give me a thumbs up if I'm being clear with this approach. I'll start my loop from 1, will end at 24, and I'll check that by is there any number which divides by 24? If yes, print that number. Guys, say me yes or no if I'm being clear on this. But there is a catch. If I'll be going with this approach, so if I have to find all the factors of 24, I would end up making 24 iterations. And these 24 iterations is number of iteration is somehow equals to the given input. So the time complexity of this approach is big O of n. Now tell me one thing, is big O of n as the optimal approach? Yash, you tell me. Big O of n क्या optimal approach है इसका?
नहीं सर।
So big O of n एक नाइव अप्रोच है यश, जिससे ये प्रॉब्लम हो तो गया है बट टाइम ज्यादा लग रहा है. मेक सेंस? मेक सेंस? ओके फाइन. So I have big O of n. I have an algorithm which goes in big O of n. Sir, can we do one thing? Let's move towards the precedence table. This is my precedence table. So that means I have big O of n. So, sir, can I just write an algorithm which goes in big O of root n? Because big O of root n is a lesser time complexity. Can we write it? Can we write it also in big O of root n? Yes, we can. Now see here. Let's take out the factors of 24. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, 24. Now let's start writing the factors like the way we were writing in prime numbers. 1, the converse of 1 is 24. If 2 is the factor, then 12 is the another factor. If 3 is the factor, 8 is the other factor. If 4 is the factor, 6 is the other factor. Again, if 6 is the factor, 4 is the other factor. 12, sorry, 8, 3, 12, 2 and 24 and 1। सर ये करने का मतलब क्या है बार बार? ये करने का मतलब ये है, अब देखो यहाँ पे ध्यान से एकदम, let's say I got to know this thing that 2 divides my 24 and I'm getting remainder 0। एक बात बताओ, अगर 2 24 को डिवाइड कर रहा है तो 24/2 will also be dividing my 24। Say me yes or no। If 2 divides my 24 then 24/2 जो नंबर आएगा वो भी तो डिवाइड करेगा 24 को। Say me yes or no। इसका मतलब ये है, if I is dividing my 24, so I'm making an iteration, right? See here, if my I divides my n, that simply means this I is the factor of n। Now, if I is the factor of n, can I just say this thing? Please ध्यान से सुनना ये चीज। If I is factor of my n, can I just say this thing? N by I will be the another factor। Say me yes or no। If 2 is the factor of 24, then 24/2 is equals to 12 is also one of the factor of 24। That's how the intuition works। चेक एक के लिए करना है, लिखना दो है। I'm repeating once again, I'll be checking it for one time, but I'll be writing it for two times। If I divides my n, then n by I will also divide my n। So that means I'll start a for loop for int I is equals to 1, I is less than square root of n। I'll still go till square root of n because देखो यहाँ पे कैसे, what's the square root of 24? So the square root of 24 is 4 point something, that means around 4। So I'll be making only 4 iterations. Now my I is equals to 1. Is my 1 divides 24? Yes it is. So 1 is my answer. Then I have 2. 2 divides my 24? Yes it is. So 2 is the factor and 24/2, which is 12, is my another factor. Then I'm at 3. 3 divides my 24. Yes, it is. If 3 is my factor, then 24/3 will also be my factor, that is 8. Then I have 4. Is 4 divides my 24? Yes, it is. If 4 is my factor, then 24/4 is equals to 6 will also be my factor। Guys, tell me yes or no if I'm being clear on this। चेक एक के लिए करना है, बट उससे मुझे दो चीजें निकल जाएंगी। Say me yes or no if I'm being clear on this। प्रियांशु, यश, फैज, वैभव, आप सबको क्लियर है? That's it। So I'm writing the pseudo code, then after I'll write the whole code of that। Fine। For int I is equals to 1, it's going till square root of n I plus plus if any value of I divides my n, that means this I is the factor of my n। So in the first line, I'll print I, and in the second line, I'll print n by I because I and n by I both are my factors। That's it. That's it. That's it। Say me yes or no if I'm being clear on this। If I divides my n, that means I is my factor and n by I is my another factor. So that I will end up printing all the factors and will move till we go of 10. And I've optimized my approach। Guys, give me a thumbs up if you're clear with this thing। how I'm optimized, how I have optimized my big O of n to big O of root n. Bolo. Everyone, Yash, Priyanshu, Faz, Papa, everyone. Okay, fine. Let me write the code for you. So ये वाला कोड तो प्राइम नंबर निकालने के लिए था. तो फाइंड, let's make a function which will give me the factors. And I'll be passing a number whose factors I will be calculating. So for int I is equals to 1, I is less than equals to n, I plus plus. If n% I is equal to 0, that means the first factor will be I plus the second factor will be n by I. Let's call this function that is factors, and in that I'll be passing a number whose factors I'll be needing 24. So let's run this. Clear? So I'm repeating 124. I just need only for one time. See, I have 124, 212, 3846. Okay, fine. मुझे स्क्वायर रूट तक जाना था. Math dot square root of n. See, I'm having 124, 212, 3846. That's it. Guys, give me a thumbs up if I'm being clear on this. How I have optimized my code from big O of n to big O of root n. That's it. Okay, fine. So, guys, the pillars of time complexity, the pillars of recognizing the problem in terms of naive approach and optimal approach is being done. Take 1 minute, revise the things, and if you have any doubt, please ask. I'm waiting for 1 minute, right? Okay. Any issue, guys? Anything to ask? Okay, fine. Fine. So if you'll be having any doubt, like you can ask in that WhatsApp group, right? And I think आज के लिए हम इतना ही रखते हैं. Fine. इतना हम इसलिए रख रहे हैं because इसके बाद जो हम टॉपिक स्टार्ट करेंगे that would be needing around more 1 hour, right? Because I'll be starting with basics of searching. Fine. So let me give you the introduction, the things which we will be discussing on day 4 and day 5. So on day 5, will cover searching, in which we'll cover binary search, modified binary search, violation in binary search. Then we'll cover sorting. Fine. The famous algorithms of sorting and the intuition to recognize the pattern of sorting. Right. Then we will cover the algorithms, the famous algorithms which are being used on arrays. Right. And on fifth day, I'll be giving you the introduction to linked list, stacks, and queues. That's it. Fine. So, लगभग 60% of the things with the intro will be given to you. Fine. And if there would be time left on the sixth day, because the sixth day is all about doubt session. Fine. So on sixth day, I will be expecting some questions from your end. Questions that will be in terms of your life, that will be in terms of data structures, that will be in terms of anything. आप कुछ भी पूछ सकते हैं. Fine. So that's all for today, guys. Like let's end this and our third day of boot camp. By the way, कैसा जा रहा है चीजें? Is it going fine? कोई अगर कुछ बोलना चाहता है तो वो बोल सकता है. ऐसे शांत नहीं रहा करिए हमेशा. फाइन. फैज, प्रियांशु, ऋतिक, किसी को कुछ बोलना है, कोई कुछ बोलना चाहता है regarding this boot camp, regarding the things, regarding the kind of problems which we are discussing, regarding the basics. Like कभी इस तरीके से पढ़े हो आप? मतलब is there anyone who taught you data structures or the basics of data structures like this? I think अब फ्यूचर में कभी भी टाइम कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी, ऑप्टिमल अप्रोच, नाइव अप्रोच के टर्म्स में you won't be facing any difficulty. Am I clear? Am I right? Guys, am I right? Okay, fine. आप बोल सकते हैं यार. माइक आप अपने आप को अनम्यूट कर सकते हैं. इफ यू डोंट वांट टू स्पीक इन द चैट बॉक्स तो इट्स फाइन. अगर चैट बॉक्स में बात नहीं करते हैं तो हम यहाँ भी बात कर सकते हैं. दैट्स फाइन.
सर सब कुछ तो सही चल रहा है बस बट सब स्लो चल रहा है नहीं.
सब कुछ सही चल रहा है, बस स्लो चल रहा है. स्लो इसलिए चल रहा है बिकॉज जो चीजें आपको पहले से आती हैं. अब देखो, द थिंग इज कि यू हैव रिटन द अप्रोच ऑफ द नंबर ऑफ फैक्टर्स ऑफ इन बिग ऑफ रूट एन, बिग ऑफ एन. ऑल्दो ये चीज आपको आती थी बट यू हैव रिटन इट इन बिग ऑफ एन. समझ पा रहे हो यश?
हाँ सर.
सो बेसिकली द थिंग इज कि आपको जो चीज पहले से आती है उसमें भी इम्प्रूवमेंट किया जा रहा है. अगर ये चीज आपको पहले से आती तो शायद आप सोचते ही नहीं बिग ऑफ एन के बारे में. आप डायरेक्टली बिग ऑफ रूट एन लिखते. बट यू हैव रिटन समथिंग इन बिग ऑफ एन. फाइन. सो बेसिकली द थिंग इज, जो चीज हमें आती है हमें उसमें कितना आता है ये मैटर करता है. लेट्स से मुझे कोई टॉपिक आता है तो भाई वो जो टॉपिक है ना, दैट टॉपिक कंसिस्ट ऑफ सो मेनी ऑफ थिंग्स. मुझे सिर्फ इंट्रो पता है उस टॉपिक का, मुझे इंटरमीडिएट पता है या फिर उस टॉपिक के बारे में पूरा पता है. तो यश, तुम्हें इसके बारे में इंटरमीडिएट पता था तो तुमने लिख लिया बिग ऑफ एन में. बट व्हाट अबाउट द स्टेप which is damn like important. समझ पा रहे हो यश? तो जो चीज आती है उसमें वो चीज कितनी आती है ये मैटर करता है. बिकॉज इंटरव्यू में हम वो टॉपिक छोड़ के चले जाते हैं जो हम पढ़ चुके होते हैं, बट मैन पूरा नहीं पढ़े होते हैं हम उसको. आर यू गेटिंग माई पॉइंट यश?
हाँ सर.
फाइन. एंड द थिंग इज ना कि हम जितना कवर कर पाएंगे हम कवर करेंगे. एंड इफ देयर वुड बी एनीथिंग लेफ्ट तो हम फिर से कंटिन्यू करेंगे यार. एंड द थिंग इज कि आप मुझसे कभी भी डाउट पूछ सकते हैं. आप व्हाट्सएप पे रिप्लाई तो करिए, आप व्हाट्सएप पे टेक्स्ट तो करिए मुझे. इफ यू वोंट बी गेटिंग एनी रिप्लाई तो बोलना आप मुझसे. यू विल बी गेटिंग द रिप्लाई, इवन you will be getting the solution and I'll be giving you the explanation. That's fine. But भाई फाउंडेशन तो ठीक कर लेते हैं. आज के बाद से कभी ये टॉपिक किसी से नहीं पढ़ोगे, ये टॉपिक किसी से नहीं बोलोगे पढ़ाने के लिए, क्योंकि आपको ये आता है। आज के बाद से आपके सामने कोई भी टीचर आएगा तो आप उसको ये बोलोगे कि भाई ये मत पढ़ाओ मुझे, ये मुझे आता है, इसके आगे का पढ़ाओ। समझ पा रहे हो यश?
हाँ सर।
सो लेट्स बी ऑन दैट स्टेज जिसमें हम बेसिक्स कवर कर चुके हो, फाउंडेशन कवर कर चुके हो। फाइन।
ठीक है सर। कल के लिए मतलब अगर कुछ होमवर्क के लिए ऐसा कोड मिल जाते हैं प्रैक्टिस के लिए।
एक सेकंड रुको, आपकी वॉइस थोड़ी स्लो आ रही है। लेट मी स्विच ऑफ माय एसी, गिव मी अ मोमेंट। ओके, हाँ अभी बोलो यश।
हाँ सर, प्रैक्टिस क्वेश्चन मिल जाते तो अच्छा होता।
ओके फाइन फाइन, आई एम सेंडिंग यू द प्रैक्टिस क्वेश्चंस। ठीक है। इट्स 8:52। यश मैं मोस्ट प्रोबेबली आपको 9:30 या फिर 10 बजे तक भेज दूंगा ग्रुप में क्वेश्चंस। फाइन।
ठीक है सर।
राइट। और अगर लेट होता है मुझे तो यू विल बी द गाय हु विल बी रिमाइंडिंग मी एट 10:30 और 10:15। राइट।
ठीक है सर।
बाकी यश कॉन्फिडेंस फील हो रहा है, लाइक लग रहा है कि नहीं यार, दिस इज नॉट अ रॉकेट साइंस।
हाँ सर, लग तो रहा है लेकिन अभी तक वो इतना ज़्यादा कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं आया। मतलब वो जो कंपनीज होती है 10-12 लाख
हाँ।
वहां तक तो पहुंचना है ना।
हाँ, वहां तक पहुंचना है। वहां तक पहुंचने के लिए फाउंडेशन स्ट्रांग होनी चाहिए। ठीक है। क्योंकि सिंपल सी बात समझो, अगर मुझे किसी बंदे को जज करना है तो मैं इससे जज नहीं करूंगा कि उसको ज्यादा क्या आता है। उसको जज मैं करूंगा कि भाई इनको एबीसीडी आती है कि नहीं, प्रोग्रामिंग की एबीसीडी आता है कि नहीं, डीएसए का। तुम पढ़ के बैठे हो एडवांस टॉपिक्स, तुम्हें निकालना नहीं आ रहा है, क्या बोलते हैं कि तुम्हें ऑप्टिमाइज करना नहीं आ रहा है। आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट यू, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट एवरीवन। आप सब कुछ पढ़ चुके हो, लेकिन एक क्वेश्चन आएगा टाइम कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी का, जो मैंने कल दिया था, जो जीपी फॉर्म हो रहा था। आप सॉल्व कर ही नहीं पाओगे अगर आपको अप्रोच नहीं पता है कि इनर लूप अगर ज्यादा बार चलता है तो वो ज्यादा टाइम कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी इनर लूप के अकॉर्डिंग डिसाइड होती है। आर यू गेटिंग माई पॉइंट यश?
हाँ सर।
ठीक है। तो किसी को जज करना है तो वो इस बेसिस पे जज करेगा आपको, वो इस बेसिस पे जज नहीं करेगा कि भाई ये एरे में वैल्यू डाल लेता है कि नहीं। आर यू गेटिंग माई पॉइंट यश?
हाँ सर।
फाइन। सो दैट्स ऑल फॉर टुडे। एंड इफ यू हैव एनी फीडबैक और सजेशन आप ग्रुप में भी लिख।
सर,
या
नितिन सर,
या वैभव।
सर अभी आप ये मीटिंग के बाद फ्री हो?
18 के बाद।
सर अभी आप ये मीटिंग के बाद फ्री हो क्या, इस मीटिंग के बाद?
नो वैभव, मैं थोड़ा बाहर जा रहा हूँ। आई हैव समवन हु इज वेटिंग फॉर मी फ्रॉम पास्ट हाफ एन आवर। ठीक
सर
है।
आई वांट टू मेक अ कॉल।
रात में बात करते हैं, इट्स फाइन। रात में बात करते हैं 11 के आसपास, 10 के आसपास। फाइन। और अगर
श्योर
और अगर
श्योर
और
श्योर,
अगर
नो
नहीं हो
प्रॉब्लम।
पाती है तो कल तो मैं कॉलेज आ ही रहा हूँ। लेट्स मीट टुमारो। फाइन।
श्योर सर,
या
डेफिनेटली।
या
ओके सर, गुड।
या ओके फाइन गाइज, थैंक यू फॉर ज्वाइनिंग एंड हैव अ ब्यूटीफुल डे।